Hello and welcome back to the You is Silent, We Aren't podcast, brought to you by Visit Staunton, Virginia, right here in Staunton, Virginia. This has been such a fun process where, as you guys know, listening in, we have just had such amazing conversations with people that are so filled with passion and innovation. And that's why I am extremely excited about our guest today, because she encapsulates both of those ideas so clearly and so well. So welcome to the show, Noelia Nunez.
Nunez, yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to have you here. And I've been such a fan of your work since I first moved to Staunton. And even before I knew who you were, I was like, oh my gosh, who did this? Who did this? And then it became so clear, your style, that then when I would go by your pieces, I'm like, this is a Noelia piece. So if you wouldn't mind, for listeners, kind of describing and sharing a little bit of your artistic style and your work, and just a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Thank you for having me again. I have found a little bit of my style throughout just creating in Staunton and like around the area. So I do a lot of my painting, either like looking at the mountains or looking at the architecture around here. And I basically just found my style by just doing it and experimenting. And I was very lucky to be around a lot of artists around in Staunton as well, that kind of pushed me along in that kind of aspect of trying to like figure out where I really belonged in my art, and allowed myself to see like, oh, I actually can, just create freely without feeling like I have to be exactly like this or like that. So that's basically, I just kind of did paintings here and there and drew, and I found my style just by trial and error, I guess, and figuring out what I liked and what I felt around the what I was creating.
Yeah.
So that's basically how I found it overall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you really do. You have such a signature style of, well, I mean, as you can see here, even you always it envelops so much color and
Mhm.
creativity, but also I feel like you blend realism with also this deeper artistic expression. And I would love for you to share a little bit too. So your family moved here when you were a young child, and please check my pronunciation on me. But from Uruguay.
Uruguay?
Uruguay,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so how do you feel that having these multiple cultural experiences and diverse cultural experiences, do you feel like that shaped your artistry at all?
I do feel like it shaped my artistry. I was lucky enough where, even though I was really young, I do remember images of like Uruguay, and I have gone back, so those
Yeah.
memories have come more solid. But I do remember like just the color and the light, and that bringing that in with creating was a sense of like I do have that in the background. Um, in like Uruguay in the United States, and both in like Virginia, has shaped me. I always say that my parents always brought up that Virginia reminded them a lot of the countryside in Uruguay,
Oh,
where
really?
around they grew up.
Yeah.
And so it was really like they found kind of that home in that sense of like it reminded them of like, that like beautiful pastures and like the cows and on there. And I think that shaped my background as an artist too, because I do a lot of, the landscapes around the area, as well as, the color of the architecture around here. So I definitely think that being from Uruguay and having those, that background has shaped my artistry and how I view even like my everyday life and how I observe it.
What do you mean
So
by that?
yes, just by like, I feel like as a kid, I would look at everything so deeply of like how the light hits something, or how, things aligned with each other. Even here, I pay attention to like our town is so hilly that there's so many layers to it. Even when you look over, you can see multiple like, buildings at one time. So I think Uruguay definitely shaped that, and I remember that both aspect of, like, the city life. We moved a little bit over there, and I remember, like, the beach and all that, so it did shape me as, like, just to observe more and to take in
Yeah.
life a little bit, deeper with the colors and the light, and so I do think Virginia has brought all those things together
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah, that's so interesting, the
mhm.
similarities. I am curious something you just said. So you mentioned when you, even when you were younger, and I'm
Yeah.
sure especially now that, this is so much of your career, but when you were younger, you mentioned that you would recognize like how the lights and the
Mhm.
shadows hit
Mhm.
certain area. Did you feel that way as you started painting, you recognized it, or almost reverse that when you started painting, you were naturally able to see those things then? Do you feel like one came before the other?
I actually feel like it was after that I realized what I was paying attention to,
Mhm.
and it shaped how I painted, but I didn't realize that I was doing it when I was painting it. It was not in my brain as like, oh, there's that, this is, how I see it exactly. It
Mhm.
was like more of just like feeling it in that way. I think as I've gotten older, I see, oh, like that's how I paid attention in those light and darks. And for a while, I thought I didn't. I thought it was not there. And I
Hmm.
was just like missing the point of like painting. But then I realized
Sure.
that that was the whole point. It was how I viewed it was coming through the like canvas. I just needed to let myself feel it out and
Yeah.
not be so hard on like every single aspect of it. But I do like realize that as I've gotten older and as I've seen my work progress, that those things have always been there. And I'm just allowing myself to like, oh yeah, like just put that there, even though it feels a little off right now. It might be okay. And
Yeah.
that's how I see it. And when I step back, I'm like, oh yeah, that's okay. Like that feels good. That looks good. It's definitely more of a feel than like a logical thing, I feel like.
Yeah, my scenic design professor in college, he used to always say trust the process. It
Mhm.
was like our motto, and now
Yeah.
it's, my motto to life, but he's like, I'm like, I don't know about this. He's like,
Mhm.
trust the process, and then you get to the end and you're like, oh
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely, that's how exactly it is. It's like you have to allow yourself to be in it and
Yeah.
just trusting and almost trusting yourself to, like, figure it out as you
Mm.
go, you know? So
Yeah. Well, on that side of things, I know you have kind of stated of your inspiration that you draw a lot of inspiration from both your inner world and your external environment. Can you kind of elaborate on that dynamic and how you use it as an artist, but then also how you see it in your
mhm.
final process
Mhm.
of it? Can you kind of talk about that?
I think, like, my inner world, I was thinking of, like, more of how I internalize things. I think I have allowed myself to be more open to sharing that
Mm,
in the external, and my art has been a venue for that,
mm,
as well as, like, I do teach yoga too, so I think those 2 worlds of, like, allowing myself to be in that space in my mind and, like, what I see and how I process life
yeah,
to come out through like what I do, either through my art or through if I'm teaching yoga or if I'm coaching at the high school and
yeah,
helping out and just feeling those things of like being observant but not staying in there, more like allowing those questions to like answer themselves through like the process again of like creating um, what I feel, or like if I'm doing a commission for someone to also like, even though those thoughts of like inside of our heads of oh, this is not like, maybe good enough, or trying to figure out like your thoughts really can shape things as
yeah,
but at the same time allowing yourself to like externalize those thoughts in the way of like step by step, just putting them out there, I feel like. But yeah, I feel like I've always been very observant. As even as a child, I
mm,
would question a lot of things, and art has allowed myself to express that um, more freely and more
yeah.
open, and
To explore the
yeah,
questions.
explore the
Yeah,
questions. And it's a wonderful way. I feel like a lot of artists feel that way too. Of like,
yeah,
there's a lot in our minds, and I think a lot of us deal with that. But yeah, art has been a great, just way to express the and be outside of your mind a little
mhm.
bit. So yeah, I think that that's how I would see it in internalized and externalized, as well.
Yeah,
So
you mentioned that I mean, you have a few different paths, right? So, of
mhm.
course, as an artist and a
Yes.
painter, but also you're a yoga instructor, and then you also coach youth in sports as well. Do you feel like there's overlap that one helps another, or do you feel like they kind of give you totally separate points of focus?
I definitely think that they all help each other out.
Mm.
For a long time, I think I fought with myself that I had to be in one path.
Mhm.
And then I realized, like, no, I think like every little thing that I'm doing is allowing the next thing to like feed each other in a way. They feed each other. Um, and I allowed myself to be in that creative space because I can be creative as a coach
Mhm.
in creating the workouts or how I speak to them or how they speak to me. Sometimes oh my God, they give me so many great ideas just by like chatting about what I'm doing or working on too. Kids are very afraid too, and it's awesome being around them.
Yeah.
But I like my art helps my yoga sometimes, and my yoga when I'm flowing sometimes I see what I want to work on, and envision things. And I think allowing yourself to be in those spaces
Yeah.
as separate, but then like they blend into each other.
Mm.
So yeah, for a long time I felt like, oh my gosh, why can't I just get it together? Why can't I just do one thing and just stick to it 100%? And then I mean, life is so many layers anyway. So they definitely feed into one another.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we just had a creative morning session
Oh
recently,
yes,
and that was
yes.
kind of the theme is parallels, but sometimes like parallel is not actually this. Sometimes it looks like this, but
Mhm.
it's our interests, our intentions of
Yeah,
how they align,
yeah.
even though the path doesn't quite
Mhm,
look
mhm.
like a straight line. The intention does. So yeah,
Yes.
I think that I'm like, yeah, that's right in line with that. So
Yes.
I would like to go all the way back though, because I always find it fascinating, especially I know you work with young people. Do you recall, like, some of the first moments that either somebody expressed or you yourself
Mhm,
thought, like, "I think I may have a really
mhm,
good talent or skill or something for painting." Do you, like,
mhm.
remember that moment?
I do actually. There's been a few moments that have pushed me into the more like artistic life, I think, and allowing myself to explore painting. For a
Yeah.
long time, I just drew, and I would just do like pen and ink, and I would just stick to more of like I thought it was safer to stay in that route. And then I feel like I started doing more painting as I watched people around me do it.
Mhm.
There's like a great community here of artists again
Yeah.
in Stanton. And I was like, maybe I could be that. So I allowed myself to be in that space.
Yeah.
And I went into actually a Mary Baldwin class. I took a painting class
Yeah.
after my Blue Ridge community classes. I went into that thinking I was going to do my teaching degree and then I decided to step away
Yeah.
from it. But I did take that semester at Mary Baldwin, and I remember that teacher. We were only 6 women in
Mm.
the class, or 6 girls, and there was so many styles of like painters, and I remember I didn't belong in there because there was like, I
Hmm.
mean, incredible talent, and I was just like, this is not like I'm not there. Like that's, and my teacher came up to me and he's like, because we would just paint basically the whole time we were there. He just free like he was like, "Okay, here's that assignment. You just do your thing." And it was very freeing because he came up to me and he was like, because I thought I had to be a certain way, right? Because we all were like so different. But I was like, oh, I'm comparing myself to the next
Yeah.
person. Um, and he said, "You paint so naturally.
Mm.
Don't box yourself in, basically." And I remember thinking, and I was like, "He's my painting teacher, and he's letting me be like, just be you. Like, just do your thing. Yeah, learn, but just don't hold yourself back because you think you need to be something else right now."
Yeah.
And I remember those words really clearly of like, just paint naturally. Just go for it. And um I think as a painting teacher, it was more important to me because I was like, okay, this is a teacher. A lot of my friends and family had said it, um, but it was
That's a
different of
different
allowing
dynamic in
myself
that
to just
moment.
be
Yeah.
in that and call myself like, oh, okay, I can be. an artist in this way. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be, even though, I mean, those girls were amazing. And
Sure.
so, yeah, I think that was a big moment for me. One of the big
Mhm.
moments that helped me kind of push me along, like, okay, just create, just go for it.
And now, I mean, I think many of us would say, like, this is your signature style. Like, you have
Yes.
created that style for
Yes.
yourself now that is very recognizable in
Yes.
in our world here.
Mhm.
So, I would like to talk about that style. So, as you can see, this
Yes.
beautiful spot, I was telling you before, this is it's really not a secret, but it
You're
feels,
right. It does feel
sometimes
like
when we just need to like hide for just a second to like get a brain break or work through or do some writing if there's some
Mhm.
things due on that side. This is one of my favorite spots in towns. It's right behind the R.R. Smith Art Center, which is just incredible indoors, and many people go
Yes.
indoors. But right behind is this beautiful public garden, it's beauty space
Yeah.
that you can just sit and be
Yes.
for a while. You often, not always, you paint a big variety, but you do often capture um, this great balance of Stanton from like this, and it's true of Stanton. I think you capture it very well of this nature and natural beauty around us, but also this deep historic architecture that we have. How do you, I guess, why do you find such inspiration in even just our general surroundings here in
Mhm.
Stanton? Like what calls to you from our area here?
I think it's the fact that it is very historically, like, preserved too, and
Mhm.
people really care about what it looks like, how it
Yeah.
comes together. It's almost like an art piece come together, like a puzzle piece.
Hmm.
And I feel like the city has done a really good job in creating that. Like, even though we're all individuals and we all
Yeah.
have our different things happening, they want to preserve that, like, as a community, as a one. But
Mhm.
there's so many different, like, architecture styles too, and different, like, buildings, and how, like, you look up and it's like, oh my god, like we were talking earlier, like layers of
Mhm.
buildings up and down, and like the colors. And I've always been drawn to that aspect of, Stanton. You look at any corner and it's like, it's so cool, and
Oh,
like
like
there's so
the
many, yeah, the details.
detail, but it's also colorful and vibrant,
Yes,
and
yes.
it's not common that you see that in
No.
places of this bright color, but also, like, you look into the molding or the
Mhm.
just corner or the door frame of a building, and it's
Yes.
like these special shapes and yeah.
Yes, and I've always been really drawn to it, and I started doing more of, like, just looking at, the different um shapes of, like, the buildings. And I
Mm,
started playing around more with creating these little spots that people knew.
yeah,
And I was very, like, there was something that called me into that space of, like, oh, that would be such a cool painting, or that would be such a cool, like, little mini, sketch or something. So I'm drawn to, like, the layers and the colors and how
yeah.
everything kind of comes together, but it's separate. It stands on its own too. With, the businesses. And I've been really lucky to work with some businesses around town, and
Mhm.
creating, like, their image, or like their little look of, and it's all awesome. If you look at every storefront, it's really beautiful. They
Mhm.
have created something, an incredible thing. But yeah, I love that spot right here. I
I
did the
know.
artist in residency with the art center here. And I was like, I come and go a lot. So some artists were inside and I was more like outside whenever I could. And I
Yeah,
just stood out there and did a couple of paintings
yeah.
from different views. But yeah, I think it's that. It's the, like, attention to detail that we have here.
Mhm.
And just, it's, I mean, any time of day there's cool lighting, and how the light hits the buildings and creates, a different warmth to
Mhm.
each color. So yeah, I love Little Stan.
Yeah. I love even, I've seen you painting in town and several others, and um it always just it's not lost on me at all, like, how special and unique it is here that some days I'll just be walking through town on, like, just a Wednesday afternoon, and an artist like yourself or somebody else will
Mhm,
just be out painting from
mhm.
inspiration, or somebody will just be playing music, their
Yes,
cello or whatever it might be, and I'm like, this is not something to take for granted
right.
in a small town, and,
Mhm,
it feels very magical, but I am curious from you because, um, as an artist, sometimes it is an anomaly to to say, "Well, I'm gonna stay in a small town and
Mhm.
create here."
Mhm.
Though your family came here at a young age, what has drawn you
Mhm.
specifically as you've grown into adulthood and as an artist to put roots down here?
Mhm. I think it's funny because for a long time, I thought I wanted to move away from
Mhm.
here, um, because it is like a slower paced town,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of us that grew up around here feel that way. But
Sure.
I find this incredible, like just like you said, like the roots are so strong.
Mm.
There's that family aspect. There's also those friends that, I grew up with, but I also like feel like the town creates this community itself that create like it's almost like a family-based community where you know each other, like people's kids or
Mhm.
like I've coached, kids, I've babysat,
Mhm.
so it's that community of like knowing people and trusting people in that way that has led me to feel like, oh, this is like, it just feels good. It feels
Mhm.
right. And it feels like I can go elsewhere and visit and like go and travel and that's wonderful, but this kind of feels like it kind of pulls me back into that centering of my own in a
Mhm.
way. So yeah, I've had that question for myself a few times the past couple of years. And I feel like it just feels very like we are lucky. We are
Mhm.
very lucky to have a space of community in this way. And just knowing that always people are like, oh, you're always traveling or you're doing this and doing that. But just coming home and it's like
Mhm.
it feels like home. And
Yeah.
um so I feel like I don't know, it's been a trial and error of trying to figure that out for a while.
Yeah.
But it just feels right when
Mm.
at the end of the day of like, oh, this, so many layers to our lives and then you end up with, you know, what feels the best in a way of like your community, but also like what can I build here? What can
Yeah.
I, how do I connect myself to other people here? How do I connect myself to myself here? Um, so I think that's where I end up every time. It's kind
Yeah.
of like that home base. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too, I think especially from an artist standpoint of once you give yourself permission to feel at rest and at peace in a place, then I think it gives so much more freedom. Well, even not even just an artist, even just in anybody's
Mhm.
work. I know for myself too, like when you feel rested and settled and at peace of where you physically are,
Mhm.
it just gives so much more freedom mentally
Mhm.
and emotionally to express yourself in
Mhm.
other outlets too.
Yes.
Yeah. I do want to ask you from a business standpoint because I think you have done such a great job of leveraging social media
Mhm.
in this age and era to share your work, but not even just your work. I think you do a great job of sharing like your own personality
Mhm.
in many ways through your work and like I saw you on social media as I came through and I'm like, oh, okay, like I just think you've done a great job with it. Can do you how do you leverage social media
Mhm.
as an artist and really a business owner
Mhm.
to build your network and community? And I know you've mentioned this before that you've used it to not only build your community outside of here,
Mhm.
but also internally
Mhm.
too. Like
Mhm.
how do you feel like social media is I guess what's your process with that?
I think it's vulnerability, being
Mm.
open to people, but also knowing like when to, step back
Yeah.
from it. But yeah, social media has created more of like a viewpoint where people can see what I'm up to,
Mhm.
like if what kind of things I'm creating, also what's available if they would like to,
Sure.
purchase something, or if they want to see it in person where they could find it. But I have found that like it has kind of been like more like a journal to me too, because I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I've
Mm.
been. Like I was there in my life. I feel like sharing what I feel is best. Like nobody's telling me what to do in a way. It's me like just being like, okay, what if I do this today, or what feels right on creating. Um, because I didn't want it to make it like, oh, you can, buy all this. It's more like I want to share what I'm up to, what I'm
Yeah.
like, how I'm growing as an artist too. So I think social media has played a lot too of sharing like even our town and then being,
Yeah.
like connecting like the art to the real life and taking that photo and posting it creates that connection between, what I'm doing and people can go to the place or can, just connect the dots almost with the art.
Yeah.
So yeah, social media has definitely been I think it's a fine line of being vulnerable enough and kind of pulling back and just feeling what's right and what's wrong because there is so much like you just expose yourself in that way too. But there is a beauty in like sharing, especially in the visual arts, of
Yeah.
sharing your work and creating community within other artists too.
Mhm.
And people in town that maybe don't come into town as often can
Yeah.
see what is available or creating that space for them. I think I mentioned one time that my social media helped a lot throughout COVID too, and that
Mhm.
space and time where that connection was not as easily accessible as like community aspect. But then it created that like, oh hey, like I am working and I'm doing this,
You
and
started doing painting a day, is that right?
yeah, I was doing a
Yeah.
painting a day. I had an idea from a friend of mine that's also a painter and artist. And it created this connection between people too, because they, would have these little paintings that I would send out to them and
Mhm.
have that connection between each other. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to share with each other in a
Yeah.
way that even if you're far away from each other, you can still create that space. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And people still can connect with you
Yeah.
digitally as well. So of
Yes.
course, I know you offer a number of in-person workshops
Yes.
here in addition to your actual work.
Mhm.
You allow people to learn along with you, but that's
Mhm.
also available still online, right? That's
Yes,
still
yes.
something you're offering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have on my website too. People can choose a day where they would like to. I love doing little painting classes or yoga classes or things that people come together and already are like, oh, we're gonna have like a little bachelorette.
Yeah.
So I love that community aspect of people coming together and doing something fun and connecting in something
Yeah.
different that they wouldn't do every day. So I have been really lucky to be a part of like many size classes and yeah, they can connect to me there. They can reach out. I think social media has helped me a lot with connecting with people because they message me about like questions or, we start that process very much more quicker than I feel like sometimes without it would
Yeah.
be. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, on the side of teaching, right?
Yes.
So I know you do, like you said, bachelorette parties, but
Yes.
you also do a lot of work with like K-12 students and
Yes.
art camps and
Hmm.
just kind of across the board. I know you mentioned earlier just the beautiful moment of mentorship from your professor before, but I guess from your side, what has that taught you now being on the teaching side
Hmm.
of things? Like, does that make you look at things differently or have any lessons come from that?
I definitely think there's power in how you approach people and how you talk to people about what they're capable of.
Mm,
Of maybe they don't see it themselves yet,
yeah.
or so I think there is that power of like even teaching, a little painting class, a small
Mm,
painting class to someone or coaching someone. There is that sense of like let's do this step by step and let's not get overwhelmed.
mm,
And there is a beauty in seeing that person like, oh, okay, like maybe if I approach it a little differently. And I think, being talked to like that growing up by my coaches and by my teachers and that encouragement has really led me to want to be that person for people, especially for kids. And,
yeah.
teaching art camps has always been so fun because it's fun to allow kids to be kids and to allow
Yeah.
themselves to express themselves without that like there is rules and stuff but we
Sure.
also like I just love seeing the kids light up when they
Yeah.
create something they have something in
There
their
needs to
hands they're
be
like
room to
oh
grow.
yes yes
Yeah.
so it's wonderful to be in that side of it because
Yeah.
it's so fulfilling but it's also like I was that kid,
Mhm.
and I had wonderful people pushing me along. So, yeah, I definitely think that I've been lucky in that way and I'm lucky to like
Yeah.
be able to be in that side now as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and
Thank
I
you.
think something you do a great job of is you talk about, authenticity and vulnerability, and then
Mhm.
also even in your own work, I know you've shared that often your goal is for your physical work to express emotion, but also the audience,
Mhm.
whoever's viewing it, to have some type of
Yes.
emotion themselves.
Mhm.
Um, I'm curious from your standpoint, do you have any pieces in particular is there anything that jumps out as one that you think captures emotion well, or
Mhm.
just a favorite? Like, is
Mhm.
there a piece of yours that you feel is your favorite right
I
now?
think it's really hard to tell, what's my favorite. I think there are pieces that I've like. There was one piece that there was like a little hiker girl in the piece. I don't know if you saw that one, but it was like a nice big piece, and I just kind of like I literally like let myself flow into the painting
Mm,
almost. And I really like think a lot of my paintings are like that, where when I allow myself to just feel it out.
mhm.
I love that piece because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, like, that was completely me just being." And yeah, there's gonna be, like, little, moments where I feel like, "Oh, no." But there is definitely, like, pieces. I think the pieces that call to me more have been those pieces where I've just allowed myself to paint, to, like, just
Yeah,
move through the motions, to, um, not hold myself back, and I think those are the moments that I'm like, "Oh, I love what I do." Like, I
yeah,
love this aspect of, you know, just being in that moment, but just, allowing that paint to just do its thing. But yeah, I don't have a favorite. I definitely have some that I've loved and it's been hard to let go.
sure.
But
I was going to ask if it's
yes,
difficult
yes.
passing them on, or is it, like, bittersweet
Yeah, it's
almost?
it's almost like I think it's awesome to see them be in people's homes they appreciate. So, like, they're gonna love them. They're gonna,
Yeah,
it's gonna light up the room. And that's what I constantly get people telling me. And I'm like, that's so cool that you're telling me that. Cause, like us artists, I think we're very critical and self critical
sure.
of ourselves sometimes. But allowing that to just kind of let it like be where it needs to be is so freeing and so wonderful. And that people get a sense of like it belongs in their home is so awesome. Like that was only a little dream that I had when I was younger, and I was like, now I'm like doing that where people want this, people. So yeah, I think I don't have a favorite. I definitely love things like this where
Yeah.
I'm in the moment. I'm painting there. I'm painting like I'm expressing what I'm seeing in like that present moment. So
Yeah, I love it so much. So looking ahead, how do you think your work, your artistry, how do you anticipate it continuing to mature or expand, or your style? What do you see going forward, or what do you hope for going forward?
so I would love to do bigger pieces.
Like physically
Yeah,
big?
physically,
Okay.
physically. I would love to create just filling spaces.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to do that where um just creating a little like not little, but like big gallery shows and
Mm,
things where I can showcase almost like again with that sense of like passage in time of things that I've
yeah.
done and just creating these little images that either like from my past or like what I've lived through, but just creating that sense of people can walk through almost the painting or
Mhm.
like be in there. So that's the vision, hopefully in the future of like
Yeah.
creating these bigger paintings, both like that capture a lot of my personal, but also like capture like people can actually see themselves in it too. And that's been a vision of mine for a couple of years where I'm like, I would love to create that space one day. So hopefully that comes
Do
in
you see that as, like, a gallery or an
as
exhibit?
an exhibit. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and that's in the works. I think all the things I'm doing are building up for that moment,
Mhm.
but definitely like just I also want to just keep inspiring and hopefully, creating that within my own like living, creating that sense of like someone else can see it and be like, hey, I can do that too.
Yeah,
I think that's a beautiful thing that we can do towards each other,
yeah.
um, is just help each other find that like space um, of just allowing yourself to be, what you dream of or like what you see, but maybe don't like fully allow yourself to
Mhm.
be in. Um, so yeah, I think I would love that like my art can create that for someone else.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's where I see
I love
it.
it. I can't wait for maybe next year. I was going to
Yeah,
say a
hopefully.
couple years from now, but maybe even by next year, just going through your
Mhm.
exhibit and seeing how all the story pieces come together and seeing your story throughout the paintings as well. So I look forward to that too.
Thank you.
No, yeah, thank you so much for your work, but just the way that you, I think, both see and capture the beauty. So I think in order to capture the beauty so well, you have to first be able to see it. So I'm so grateful that you recognize the beauty within our community and you help put a spotlight on it and share it for others to see, and I hope everybody listening in takes a little bit of time to check out your work too, and to see all the creativity and passion that we've talked about in your work as well. So thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys for listening in to the You is Silent We Aren't podcast. We'll be back soon with another episode. But again, if you like what you hear, keep telling people about it. So share the word, give us a good 5-star rating, hit that share, and continuing to support us. Thank you so much for supporting us the way that you have. And how can people follow up with the work that you have going on?
So you can follow me on social media, Noelia Nunez Art, or go into my website, noelianunezart.com.
All right. Thanks, guys. We look forward to seeing you here in Staunton.